22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. But today, as your eyes come open, and you develop political maturity,
more African Americans under correctional control, whether in prison or jail, on probation or on parole, than there were enslaved in 1850. And more African American men are disenfranchised now because of felon disenfranchisement laws.
Half the young black men in this country have been incarcerated or on parole or probation. Half.
Yes, well, you know, in large urban areas, half or more than half of working-age African-American men now have criminal records and are thus subject to legalized discrimination for the rest of their lives. In some cities like Chicago, it's been estimated that nearly 80% of working-age African-American men have criminal records and are now part of this undercaste, a group of people defined largely by race that are relegated to a permanent second-class status by law.
What movement do you think needs to take place now?
Well, there absolutely has to be a movement. Nothing less than a major social movement has any hope of ending mass incarceration in America or inspiring a recommitment to people employed by the criminal justice system would lose their jobs. So this system isn't going to just fade away without a major social upheaval, a fairly radical shift in our public consciousness. So my view is that this has got to be a human rights movement, a movement that acknowledges the basic humanity and dignity of all people, no matter who you are or what you have done, so that we don't view it as normal and natural in human rights following their release from prison.
Victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections.
Because what can the white man use now to fool us? After he put down that march on Washington, and you see all through that now, he tricked you, had you marching down to Washington. Yes, had you marching back and forth between the feet of a dead man named Lincoln and another dead man named George Washington, singing "We Shall Overcome." He made a chump out of you. He made a fool out of you. He made you think you were going somewhere, and you end up going nowhere but between Lincoln and Washington. So today our people are disillusioned. They've become disenchanted. They've become dissatisfied. And in their frustrations they want...
Now, the Million Man March was an achievement. An achievement for who and for what? Anytime you gather that many people together and fail to mention Africa, you might as well fill a body and leave out the heart. No matter where your body is in this world, your political and cultural heartbeat is in Africa. Now, I challenge Farrakhan to march on the Arab embassies that has restarted the slave trade in Africa, in the Sudan, and in Mauritania. If he and the rest of the Muslims are not ready to deal with the slave trade in Africa, they're cowards and hypocrites. Farrakhan hasn't said one word about this because he is bought and paid for the fundamentalist Arabs. And tell him to prove me wrong. Tell anybody to prove me wrong. Why he had nothing to say about that? And you following him like a fool to Washington. Go to Washington if you want to go to Washington. But don't go around following a faker to Washington. Let's look at the fact that Malcolm X was the tutor of Farrakhan, and he turned on Malcolm X and said that Malcolm X was a traitor to the nation, and the nation had a right to punish him. Now, can you trust in leadership people who would turn on a friend? We have failed to demand accountability. We have to do this. All we have to do is to turn to each other. Look in the mirror and find a partner. See who's staring back at you. We can discard the Farrakhan's, the Karingas, other fakers. We can make a revolution, and we can be the leaders.
We wake up, we clean up, and we stand up. And once we can stand up like a man on our own feet, we stop begging the white man. And we stop apologizing to the white man. We stop compromising with the white man. Then the world will look at us with recognition and respect. But as long as you're running around here wearing the white man's name, bragging about you one of the Jones, or one of the Browns, or one of the Smiths, or as long as you're running around here bragging about your part in this so-called American democracy, then you will always be looked down upon as a chump by the white man. You never will be given recognition nor respect. Your problem will continue to go unsolved, and we'll still be in the same rut or ditch 1,000 years from now that we're in right now.
And you develop political for yourself and by yourself. And all of this is embodied in the two words, race first. Somebody asks you, give me two words about Garvey. Give them race first. Not religion first, not class first, not color first, not language first, not nationality first, not social class first, not fraternity first, but race first. Okay? But you got to look out for the fact that you black more so than anything else. Garvey said wherever the black man is, whether it's Africa or America or South America or Europe or Asia, you are on the bottom. But you got some black folks who say, well, that's because you disobeyed God. Oh, really? So does that mean the people in charge obeyed God and they was blessed so much that they've been ruling the world? Garvey said no. They rule the world because they believe, as God taught them in the Bible, that there is no master for them on earth, that the only person they bow to is God. And if God is your master, there is no way you can allow another race to keep you down. Garvey said that black people mock God when they say they can't rise out their condition. Okay? You're making God a liar, although you got the Bible and the Quran in your hand. Because in the Bible and the Quran, it says that God gave man dominion over all things on earth. You are your own sovereign
nationalism that's bringing freedom to oppressed people all over the world. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the Algerians. The Africans didn't get it by fitting in. They didn't get it by waiting.
Why can't you get up and do for yourself what the Arab did for himself, or what the Asian did for themselves, or what the European did for themselves? Race pride was the epitome of Garvey. As Dr. Martin Luther King said, who went to visit the Honorable Marcus Garvey's grave in Jamaica. And some said that after Dr. King visited Garvey's grave in Jamaica, he came back more revolutionary than what he was before. Because if you remember when you study King, up until a point, there was a lot of integration going on. Then towards the end of his days, when the government assassinated him, he started sounding more like Malcolm, more like Garvey. And
I come here tonight and plead with you. Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody. As I said to a group last night, nobody else can do this for us. No document can do this for us. No Lincolnian Emancipation Proclamation can do this for us. No Kennedysonian or Johnsonian Civil Rights Bill can do this for us. If the Negro is to be free, he must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with the pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own Emancipation Proclamation.
When you talk about back to Africa, people are so quick to say that Garvey's movement could be summed up in taking everybody back home to Africa. That is a lie. He never called the movement back to Africa. That's something that W.E.B. Du Bois and the communists...
There was two kinds of slaves. There was the house Negro and the field Negro. The house Negro, they lived in the house with master. And they loved their master more than the master loved himself. They would give their life to save their master's house quicker than the master would. The house Negro, if the master said, we got a good house here, the house Negro said, yeah, we got a good house here. Whenever the master said we, he said we. That's how you can tell a house Negro. And if you came to the house Negro and said, let's run away, let's escape, let's separate, that house Negro would look at you and say, man, you crazy. What you mean separate? Where is there a better house than this? Where can I wear better clothes than this? Where can I eat better food than this? That was that house Negro. In those days, he was called a house nigger. And that's what we call him today, because we still got some house niggers running around here. And if someone come to you right now and say, let's separate, you say the same thing that the house Negro said on the plantation. What you mean separate? From America? This good white man? Where you gonna get a better job than you get here? I mean, this is what you say. I ain't left nothing in Africa. That's what you say while you left your mind in Africa. The field Negro, those were the masses. There was always more Negroes in the field than there was Negroes in the house. The field Negro was beaten from morning till night. He lived in a shack, in a hut. He wore cast-off clothes. And he hated his master. If someone come to the field Negro and said, let's separate, let's run, he didn't say, where are we going? He said, any place is better than here. The masses are the field Negroes. When they see this man's house on fire, you don't hear these little Negroes talking about our government is in trouble. They say the government is in trouble. The slave master in that day used Tom, the house Negro, to keep the field Negroes in check. The same old slave master today has Negroes who are nothing but modern Uncle Toms, 20th century Uncle Toms, to keep you and me in check, keep us under control, keep us passive and peaceful and nonviolent. That's Tom making you nonviolent.
He never advocated a wholesale immigration of black people back home. What he said was, those of you who have something to offer to the redevelopment of Africa, then you have to go back. That's what he said. Only those who can be of some help. See, what he knew, which is something we still don't know now, whether you live in Africa or not, you have a responsibility to her, and Africa has a responsibility to you. But you, black people, wherever you are on the planet Earth, you don't have one single powerful nation who can stand up and protect you. So when we talk about African redemption as Garveyites, we're not saying everybody go home. We're saying send your money back home so they can build up. So when you get in trouble over here, somebody can do something about it. So whatever you do, you have to, in some way, shape, or form, contribute to Africa. Garvey continued to do his work. He went to the League of Nations several times. Okay, that was something I didn't mention. Beginning in 1919, the UNIA consistently and repeatedly, at least a half dozen times, went to the League of Nations at that time, to petition to give to the UNIA the former German colonies that they lost in World War II, and let the UNIA have those lands to build up our nation. But they never accepted his request. Okay?
22 million black victims of Americanism are
What
waking
we
up.
need now is a new Marcus Garvey movement.
And they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature.
And what we need now is a new Marcus Garvey movement.
They develop this political maturity. They're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. But today, as your eyes come open, and you develop political maturity, you're able to see and think.
And what we need now is a new Marcus Garvey movement.